All right, quick episode here. Illinois has some news. Quincy Guerrier, do we know how to say it? Is in Illini.
There's a big difference, though. I don't know. One way, I think he's special. The other way, I think he's not special.
I'm with you on that. I really don't know how to say it though. I've always said Guerrier, but I think I'm wrong.
I've always said Guerrier too, because I believe he's Canadian too. I think there's like some
Okay.
French accents or whatever.
We're
I
gonna go
don't.
with Guerrier then for this episode.
Okay.
Quincy Guerrier has signed with Illinois. I stretch four, who has played at Syracuse. He's played at Oregon. I remember being really excited in what Oregon was getting when they got him from Q's, and then he's just been pretty never heard from again at Oregon in his few years there. What do you make of Guerrier? And I guess what's his fit for the Illini?
Yeah, I'm still kind of trying to break because this news broke yesterday. I believe, obviously, if I'm not sure when this episode will come out, but it broke 24 hours prior to us recording this episode. So I'm kind of on the same wavelength as you. When he was at Syracuse, like I was very impressed by him, and when he went to Oregon, I was like, that's a great pickup for Oregon. Like that's a good pickup for them. I think he could be like that stretch four. Hasn't necessarily worked out at Oregon. Now, I don't know if that's all his fault necessarily. Like some of the stuff that happened at Oregon has to do with players that were around him, kind of the system. It was kind of a dumpster fire for Oregon basketball the past 2 years, to be honest. So I think I like the pickup for the Illini, and I'm trying to still formulate on like what they're exactly getting. And I'm gonna throw something off, kind of throw this, see if it sticks real quick, and you could tell me I'm completely wrong. He's not as good as Matthew Meyer. Okay. Take it at that. He's a
But
Matthew Meyer.
I thought you were gonna go with a big but, and I was trying to synchronize
No,
with it. But
no. He's not as good as Matthew Meyer. But I think he likes basketball more than Matthew Meyer. And I think he's like, you don't have the other stuff that comes with Matthew Meyer. But he's not as good as basketball as Matthew Meyer.
100%. I'll put it like this: there won't be a game this year. There will not be one game that you can look back on as an Illinois fan and say that was the Quincy Guerrier game. Quincy went off and won us the game. That's not going to happen. He will not have an individual game. There were probably like 7 Matthew Meyer games where whatever happened with everybody else was whatever. Matthew Meyer just went nuclear for a 6-minute stretch and won you a basketball game. That probably happened 7 times last year. We saw a couple of them. We saw one of them in person for Illinois, Michigan State. Quincy's not that type of player. Quincy is a really good piece. I mean, his best year was his sophomore year at Syracuse. He averaged 13 points, 8 rebounds. He's billed as like a knockdown shooter. 4 attempts a game his last couple of years at Oregon. He's never shot more than 34% from 3. Here's my biggest red flag is I don't like shooters who aren't shooters from the free throw line. And on his career, he's a 62% free throw shooter. He shot 58% from the free throw line last year at Oregon, but he's supposedly a knockdown shooter. I just don't really buy that. I'm sure he can make threes. We know he can make threes, but if he's a Meyer replacement, I like this. But if he's a Meyer replacement, that means you need Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins back.
That's where I was gonna go next. What is it now? We like the piece, we like the pickup of Guerrier, but what does this mean to you for the likelihood of Shannon and Coleman coming back? Because the latest I've seen, and granted, this is just random things I hear, people that pretty reliable sources, just always kind of hit me in the DMs or pass along information, or I ask around people I know, is that Shannon actually does have a pretty good chance of coming back, but Coleman's like seriously on the fence, like big time on the fence, like wants to see what the roster looks like, wants to see like kind of what the NBA feedback is. But I don't know if you heard different than me. We haven't really discussed it offline or anything like that.
So I want to be careful with how I approach this because I love our Illinois fan listeners. I love Illinois fans in general. Like I don't think people realize how much I love Illinois car. Like I literally texted you an Airbnb in Champaign 48 hours ago and said like I might buy this.
Yeah.
Like, not rent it, like
and are
buy.
serious.
And dead serious. I I know that it's a little dicey for me when we go on these episodes and I'm skeptical of either Brad or the roster he's building or just guys' decisions in general. But I'm always going to be honest. I'm always going to speak from the heart and say my body language PhD. The most controversial Illinois moment this year was when I said Sky Clark is upset, like watch the tape, and then he transferred 2 weeks later, right? So here's where I'm at with Illinois' roster building this offseason. I think that Illinois fans strongly feel that they're getting both Shannon and Hawkins back, or at least Shannon back. I don't think there's any other circle in this sport that believes that's happening. And you can take that for what it's worth. The national people I talk to don't believe they're getting either back. There really isn't much to go off of other than Illinois fan message boards or Illinois fan circles that there's any indication that Shannon's coming back. Like, everyone else, all the national news people have been told he's gone, and the announcement was he's gone. So I don't know what to make of that. Like, I'm not saying our Illinois fans are dumb or are misinformed. And if you look at the way the coaching staff is handling this offseason, Cart, it kind of indicates to me that they're operating under the assumption they're getting Shannon back, or at least Shannon or Hawkins back, if not both. Like, this is a school that should have NIL and the ability to go get the biggest transfers in the portal. They haven't really been heavily involved in any portal recruitments this year, the way they were last year with Shannon Meyer. And the very first day of the offseason, the moment they lost the NCAA tournament, Brad was at the podium and said, we're going to go get superstars in the portal. Like, we talked to him in Houston, and he was like, we are going to win in the portal. And, like, Marcus Damask is the biggest name they're after in the portal, or that they got. Like, I just don't really see the vision right now, unless they're confident they're getting Shannon and Hawkins back. But I can't square that because I am not hearing that those guys are back. I'm hearing those guys are gone. So it kind of, if I had to, like, gun to my head, make a prediction here, Cart, it feels to me like Illinois is getting Michiganed from last offseason. And what I mean by that is they're getting strung along by two guys. Michigan's was Caleb Houston and Musa Diabate. And Juwan was pretty confident he was going to get at least one of those guys back. All of a sudden, it's May 5th, and they're both gone. And now you're scrambling in the portal to try to get some. But, like, I kind of feel like that might happen here with Shannon and Hawkins. They just leave, and it's May, and then Illinois is fighting for scraps.
Yeah, and it seems to be a different strategy compared to last year's kind of transfer portal thing. Like, they didn't just go after the biggest name, or maybe they did. They just didn't land them. But there was so much talk about, like, Tiger Campbell going into the portal and get, like, this team still doesn't have a point guard.
Well, and if you were going to tamper with Tiger, don't you think, like, maybe Tiger would have some intel on what Shannon was going to do? Like,
very true. Like, and also you got to look at it like Coleman and Shannon are definitely looking at not only their options as far as them getting drafted, but, like, what roster are they coming back to? Like, even if you want to look to Michigan, like, Hunter Dickinson's leaving, because he doesn't want to come back to the roster that's in place. Whether that roster is good or not, like, who knows? That roster could end up actually winning games. Like, that's college basketball. But there's also a world where they're like, I don't want to play with these guys.
Yeah, I feel like the best case scenario for Illinois right now is, like, Ray J. Dennis and the two guys they already added. And, like, if I'm Terrence Shannon, am I really that excited to come back with Ray J. Dennis? Like, I don't know. I don't love this offseason. I asked you, we're going to have you text our boy Tyler T. Underwood, not to name drop, but friend of the program. We were hanging out with him in Houston a little bit. He was very kind to us on our visit when we did College Hoops to Go. I told you to try and get some intel. And he played his cards close to the vest, to the chest, whatever the phrase is. He wouldn't say much.
No, he's very excited about Quincy, though. I will say that. And I would, if I'm getting sophomore year Syracuse, Quincy, I would be too. But that ad to me, and this is just me saying this, screams Coleman and Shannon, you're not getting both of them back. That's what that ad says to me.
Oh, really? You think this is like to cover their bases on one of them?
I think so, yeah. And I don't know which one it is necessarily, but technically Quincy could probably be, like, both in this quit. Like, if Coleman leaves, like, maybe you have a lineup with a front court of Quincy and Danger, or if you want to go really, really big, like play Quincy on the wing where like Shannon would have been or Meyer would, I don't know.
Let me
You
ask
can
you
see that
this.
you put in different spots.
To wrap this segment, if Illinois' starting lineup next year is Justin Harmon, either Ty Rodgers or Sincere Harris, take your pick, Terrence Shannon, Quincy Guerrier, and Dane Danger, that team finishes where in the Big Ten?
I don't think that would be the starting lineup, but
what would be the lineup then, given those pieces? Like,
I mean, is good. You don't think Goody starts?
where's he? Like, he's not starting over
Or
Shannon or
did you say
Gary.
Ty Rodgers?
You could put Rodgers at the like. They need a who's the backcourt? I guess is my question. Like, is Shannon the 2?
If those guys, I would think it'd be Shannon and Gibbs Lawhorn
As a freshman?
Yeah,
Okay, I guess I was assuming Justin Harmon would play over him, but
I think that's my backcourt, and you have Justin Harmon off the bench.
okay. So Shannon Gibbs Lawhorn,
Purdue style a little bit.
Shannon Gibbs Lawhorn, pick a wing, Gary A. Danger. That team finishes where in the Big Ten?
I think the Big Ten's gonna be pretty good next year, to be honest. So,
Michigan State's back. Also, the Big Ten's good.
Yeah, who knows? I don't like fifth.
Okay.
Fifth, yeah. I think like that's off the top of my head. I know we got to move on a little bit here, but yeah, I think fifth without kind of going through all the teams in my head.
I got roasted for this last week, but I think that's like the 8th best roster in the Big Ten. I think there's a lot of work to do here for Brad, but I'm not going to doubt Daddy Brad. I'm not going to do that. The man's a killer in the portal. I need to see it, Brad. I need to see the same type energy you brought last offseason to this offseason. Good luck, Illinois fans. Enjoy 9 points a game scorer from Oregon who shoots 58% from the free throw line.